Hey good people, this is your NIDom, back with another YouTube reflection, and this is a personal journal for contemplative people looking to think, grow, and have impact in the world. So hey, I'm doing something for the very first time, so we'll see how this goes. I just finished recording an episode on the podcast called Unaccessed, and I'm going to explain that in a second. What I want to tell you now, though, is that recording abruptly ends. I mean, I'm in the middle of talking and it ends. And there's something that has changed about the app for recording those episodes that I just can't figure out right now. And so, without delaying that, I just released that episode, even though it was an abrupt ending, I think. And I think I've also learned, in the process of dealing with that, I think I've learned how to do YouTube videos that are faster. So we'll see. This is a test for that. But so I'm here to bring closure to that episode strictly for that reason. So if you only listen to me from YouTube land, this is going to feel disjointed because I'm simply here to bring closure to an episode, okay, that I called Unaccessed. Hey, if you're new to this project, this is a personal journal where I process my inner and my outer worlds. I do so by using personality theory, the two theories that I use the most out of Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram. Pushing those two systems together, I identify as an INTJ 8. I have a number of other disclaimers, but for now, what I want you to know is that this project is unedited and is unscripted. To know more about it or me, feel free to go to my website at YourNiDom.wordpress.com. So in the long-form podcast reflection, I'm talking about having intense emotions on the inside. Anguish is really the right word. Having deep anguish on the inside. And every time I go to connect to that emotion or to lean into that emotion or to release it, my rational brain kicks in and says, what are you having anguish over? What are you're grieving? And there is a mismatch between what I'm processing. There's a mismatch between my cognition and my heart. They're not in alignment. And it's given me a lot of confusion. Now, that's the simplified version of that. But for over an hour, I'm really wrestling and struggling with trying to figure out what's going on. And so I talk about my person who just passed, and in the aftermath of that, having emotions, I can feel it coming up for me now that I'm not able to release or deal with because I can't access those emotions. And so I explain a number of different strategies, like in terms of like how I deal with my emotions. I process them, I read about them, I analyze them. That's just how I deal with my emotions. So yes, there is the crying and the release of the emotion. And I'm not even really able to do that. But I mainly deal with my emotions by processing and analyzing them. And when I can't do that on my own, I go and find an article or articles to read to help me to organize the process or to drive the process. Well, I've not been able to find any article that really explains the emotion that I'm feeling. So I finally landed on an article, which is what got me in trouble with that recording, about 40 unrecognized emotions. Because I started concluding that one of the struggles that I'm having with this emotion is that it's unrecognizable. That it's not an emotion that, we learn a lot about our emotions by our caregivers. Oh, when we're sad, they say, oh, you're sad. When we're angry, they say, okay, you're angry. So no one has ever named this emotion. No one has ever modeled it. No one has ever talked about it. So it's an emotion I don't even know what to do with. So I keep waiting for that emotion to come through. But in the last few days, I realized maybe the emotion is here. I just can't name it because it's unrecognizable. So that is probably more true than not. That's probably more true than me saying the emotion is inaccessible. However, or inaccessible. unaccessed, inaccessible. However, what I do also know is there's that emotion that I'm not named, that's not named, but there is also an anguish on the inside of me that I cannot fully, it's an anguish that I cannot fully connect to, because in my mind, I don't have a hanger for that anguish. I don't know what that anguish is. So that's probably, if I had to do that recording over, I would probably, and obviously this is one of the reasons why I hit the release button on that episode, even though the ending is all jacked up, because part of the reflection is in recording the episode. But the second part of the reflection is going back, listening to it, and doing what's called metacognition. Okay? Metacognitively, I needed that reflection to be released, even though it's got a janky ending. So, and already in the metacognitive process, I'm able to start naming things that I couldn't name before. And part of the new naming is unaccessed anguish. That's really what it is. Unaccessed anguish. There's an anguish deep on the inside of me. I can feel it brewing. I can feel it brewing, but I can feel it brewing, but I can't feel it completely. I don't know how to explain it. And the best that's starting to happen in the last week is some of the aroma or the gas or some of the residue of that repressed anguish is starting to rise to the surface, and I'm able to connect to that. That's how you hear me feeling really sad. There's a little bit of a raspiness to my voice because I'm heavy, I'm sad. I'm just starting to be able to access that sadness within the last maybe week, maybe. And I think that that's because that parts of that anguish that has been inaccessible is starting to rise to the surface. And again, what I've just said to you in the last 5 to 7 minutes, is something it took me over an hour to try to explain, which is what I usually do in the closing of my episodes. I try to do a wrap-up. So I would have said this, hopefully, in the wrap-up, but the recording stopped. I don't even know how the recording, I don't even know what it sounds like. But I released it all the same because I need access to that episode so that I can do some metacognition. So I just wanted to let you know that, it's inaccessed anguish. And part of that is because I don't have a name for that. The part that's blocking this might be it. There's an emotion that's blocking the anguish. I don't have a name for that emotion. And number two, my logic is challenging me on the anguish. My logic is saying, what are you having anguish for? Like, my logic needs to be able to diagram the anguish, and I can't do that. So there's an emotion there's an emotion repressing the anguish that's blocking it. Because I think even if my logical brain is saying, what are you feeling anguish for? There's still the anguish that's there. I would be able to access it. Even if I can't explain it, I would be able to access it. But there's an emotion that's blocking it, and I can't name it. So there are two things happening. I can't access it, and I can't name it. And that's what that Unaccessed episode was about. So let me go through my closing, okay? Hey, if this reflection has had any value for you, please give it a heart. This feels so weird, but I'm doing it. If this reflection has had any value for you, please give it a heart or a like or a thumbs up. If my conversation about blocked emotions, unrequited love, unrequited grief, like unexplained grief, illogical grief, not sibling rivalry, but sibling confusion, role confusion among siblings, planning funerals, If any of this relates to a conversation you've had in the world, please take this link and share it with those participants. If my moving about in the reflection, and it was a lot of moving around in there. It was messy because I was really digging deep. It was a real reflection. It was a real journal, real emotions, y'all. And so if my moving about it in that reflection caused some randomness in you, I would love to hear it. You can find me on my website at YourNiDom.wordpress.com. Let me give you an assignment. I don't do assignments on YouTube. I do them on the podcast. But because the podcast ended, I got to do the assignment here. Okay. Let me give you an assignment. Hold on one second. I want to ask you simply, when have you had an emotion that was blocked? And the reason why I'm challenged with giving you this as an assignment, because if you can name the emotion that was blocked, the question then was it blocked? Because if you can name it, is it blocked? But I think you can. You can name a thing, but not fully feel it. But it's there. So how can you have a feeling and you don't feel it? And that brings the question, the difference between emotions and feelings. Damn, that's interesting. Sometimes when I start giving you the assignments, I start having clarity. You can have an emotion, but the feeling is how you process the emotion. So I have an emotion of anguish, but I cannot process it. And because I can't process it, I'm not fully connecting to the emotion. That's the best I can have to explain it. So when have you had any kind of blockage, whether it's an emotional blockage or an intellectual blockage? That's the best I can give you for this assignment. I'm sorry, you guys. Hey, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you until I come back. Oh, that's not true. Did I tell you how you can reach me? YourNiDom.wordpress.com. X, formerly known as Twitter, I'm under there at YourNiDom1. Facebook and YouTube, YourNiDom. Hey, you guys, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you. Until I come back, be well. Bye.